You've been lied to, and not just once. Some of the most common facts you've heard your whole life are completely false. If you've ever repeated one of these without questioning it, don't worry, you're not alone. Let's set the record straight with the truth behind the totally wrong facts everyone still believes. Fact 20. Cracking knuckles causes arthritis. If you've ever cracked your knuckles and been scolded for it, you've heard the warning, that'll give you arthritis. But according to multiple medical studies, including those by the Arthritis Foundation, there is no link between knuckle cracking and arthritis. What you're hearing is the sound of gas bubbles collapsing in the joint, not bones grinding. It may annoy people around you, but it won't damage your joints. Fact 19. You swallow 8 spiders a year while sleeping. This is one of the internet's creepiest and most viral myths. The idea that you unknowingly swallow spiders in your sleep each year is utter nonsense. Spiders are not suicidal. They avoid humans. Our breath, heartbeat, and movements deter them, not attract them. No credible study supports this claim. It likely started as a made-up statistic to show how easily misinformation spreads online. Ironically, it worked. Fact 18. Hair and nails keep growing after death. This is a common horror trope, that your hair and nails continue to grow after death, but what really happens is an illusion. After death, the body dehydrates and shrinks, causing the skin to retract. This makes hair and nails appear longer, but they're not actually growing. Real growth requires cell division and metabolism, both of which stop after death. Fact 17. Bulls hate the color red. You've seen matadors waving red capes, right? It's assumed bulls charge at red out of rage. Wrong again. Bulls are colorblind to red. What actually enrages the bull is movement, not color. The waving of the cape, the challenge, and the noise of the crowd all provoke the bull, not the hue of the cloth. The red cape is used for tradition and visual effect for the audience, not the bull. Fact 16. Mount Everest is the tallest mountain on Earth. Mount Everest is the highest point above sea level, but it's not technically the tallest mountain from base to summit. That title goes to Mauna Kea in Hawaii. While most of Mauna Kea is underwater, if you measure from its base on the ocean floor to its peak, it reaches over 33,500 feet, far taller than Everest's 29,032 feet. Fact 15. Shaving makes hair grow back thicker. Many believe that shaving causes hair to grow back darker, coarser, and faster, but this is just an illusion. When hair grows naturally, the tip is tapered and soft. After shaving, it's cut at the base, leaving a blunt end that feels thicker and stiffer, but it's not actually different in texture or color. Shaving doesn't alter the follicle, root, or growth rate of your hair. Fact 14. Einstein failed math. The idea that Albert Einstein failed math is often used to inspire struggling students, but it's completely untrue. Einstein excelled in mathematics from a young age. In fact, he was doing calculus by the time he was 12. The myth likely stems from a misinterpretation of his school grades, or a confusing switch between grading systems. Fact 13. Toilets flush in opposite directions in the southern hemisphere. Thanks to cartoons and Hollywood, many believe that toilets flush clockwise in the northern hemisphere and counterclockwise in the southern hemisphere due to the Coriolis effect. While the Coriolis effect does influence large systems like hurricanes, it's too weak to impact something as small as a toilet bowl. The direction of the flush depends on the design of the plumbing, not your location on the globe. Fact 12. Vikings wore horned helmets. The image of a fierce Viking in a horned helmet has become iconic, but it's a complete fabrication. No archaeological evidence supports that Vikings wore horned helmets in battle. This myth was popularized in the 19th century through opera costumes and romantic art, not history. Real Viking helmets were made of iron and designed for protection, not style. Fact 11. Sugar makes kids hyperactive. Ask any parent, and they'll likely say sugar turns their kids into wild animals. But multiple scientific studies have debunked this theory. In double-blind studies where neither children nor parents knew whether the child had consumed sugar or a placebo, there was no measurable difference in behavior. The sugar rush is often a psychological or situational effect, like excitement at a birthday party, not the result of sugar itself. Fact 10. Napoleon was short. Napoleon Bonaparte is often mocked as the short French guy with a massive ego, but the truth is he wasn't short. Napoleon was around 5 feet 7 inches tall, which was average for Frenchmen of his time. The confusion likely arose from a difference between French and British measurement systems, or from British propaganda that painted him as smaller to ridicule him. Fact 9. Humans have 5 senses. You were probably taught in school that humans have 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. But neuroscientists argue that humans have at least 9 and possibly over 20 different senses. These include proprioception, sense of body position; equilibrioception, sense of balance; thermoception, sense of temperature; nociception, sense of pain; chronoception, sense of time. Though still debated, the 5 classical senses were first identified by Aristotle, but modern science has long outgrown that list. Fact 8. Bats are blind. You've probably heard the phrase blind as a bat. It's a catchy saying, but it's completely inaccurate. Bats are not blind. In fact, many species of bats can see quite well and rely on their vision, especially in low light. They also use echolocation, which helps them see with sound by bouncing ultrasonic signals off objects. This doesn't mean they lack sight. It just means they have additional tools in their sensory toolkit. Fact 7. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. This myth sounds comforting, especially after a thunderstorm, but it's absolutely wrong. Lightning can and does strike the same place multiple times, especially if that place is tall, metallic, and isolated, like the Empire State Building, which is struck around 25 times a year. Lightning follows the path of least resistance. If that path hasn't changed, lightning will happily return. Fact 6. We only use 10% of our brain. This is perhaps the most famous brain myth of all time. You've probably heard it in movies, motivational speeches, or random trivia. The idea that 90% of our brain lies dormant suggests a hidden potential waiting to be unlocked. But the truth? It's completely false. Neurologists have used advanced imaging technologies like fMRI and PET scans to observe brain activity. These scans clearly show that virtually every part of the brain is active at some point, even while resting or sleeping. No, you can't suddenly unlock superpowers by tapping into an unused portion of your brain. We use 100%, just not all at once. Fact 5. Goldfish have a 3-second memory. This idea that goldfish can only remember things for 3 seconds has been used to justify putting them in tiny bowls or neglecting their care. But studies have shown that goldfish have a memory span of several months, can recognize their owners, be trained to do tricks, and even distinguish between classical composers. If anything, we should stop underestimating goldfish and start treating them better. Fact 4. The Great Wall of China is visible from space. Another persistent myth that the Great Wall of China is the only man-made object visible from space. The truth? Not really. Astronauts have repeatedly confirmed that the wall is incredibly difficult to see from low Earth orbit, and definitely not visible from the moon. In fact, many roads, airports, and cities are far more visible due to their size, contrast, and design. The Great Wall blends too much into the natural landscape. Fact 3. Touching a baby bird will make its mother reject it. Many people believe that if you touch a baby bird, the mother will smell the human scent and abandon it. Not true. Most birds have a very poor sense of smell, and they won't reject their chicks just because a human has touched them. In fact, many bird species are incredibly devoted and will continue caring for their young, even after brief human interference. That said, it's still best to leave wildlife alone unless necessary, but don't worry if you have to move a fallen chick back into the nest. Fact 2. Chameleons change colour to blend into their surroundings. Chameleons are often thought to change colour to camouflage themselves from predators. While camouflage can be a side effect, it's not the main reason they change colours. The real purpose, communication and temperature regulation. Chameleons change colour to signal their mood, stress, aggression, readiness to mate, to intimidate rivals, or to absorb or reflect heat. Their colour changes are more about social signals than blending into the background like a green ninja. Fact 1. Alcohol kills brain cells. You've probably heard that drinking alcohol kills brain cells, but that's a misleading oversimplification. While excessive alcohol consumption can damage the brain over time, particularly by affecting neurotransmitter function and brain structure, it doesn't directly kill brain cells in moderate amounts. What it does is impair communication between cells and can shrink brain tissue over time with long-term abuse. Moderate drinking doesn't fry your brain like the myths suggest, but heavy drinking does carry serious cognitive risks. If you found this eye-opening or learned something new, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world's most surprising truths.